Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Colby, and we're from Way of the Earth School.
We wanted to share a video with you today to help you develop a closer relationship to one of our favorite trees, the pine tree.
I'm here with the white pine tree, which is one of my favorite trees and a very common tree in Maine. It also has so many uses. One is with the needles you can make tea, which is really high in vitamin C and OPCs. Also has a number of edible parts. The inner bark can be toasted into a pine chip, which is pretty delicious. You can also eat the pollen, which is a fine, light, fluffy pollen, like flour kind of. And also there's the pine nuts, which are much smaller than the typical Korean nut that you buy in the store. We also use the pitch, which you can see healing itself from a cut here. And we use that for hafting. Like this arrowhead here is hafted with some pine pitch mixed with charcoal. It makes like an epoxy. Also, the pitch is very antibacterial. It can be used in a salve or to heal wounds. We like to add it to most of our salves. It gives it a nice smell too, that nice pine smell. We also use the pitch in treating leather to make it more waterproof, and in the bark tanning process. The pine needles can be also used to make coiled baskets like this. And the red pine has even longer needles than the white pine. And also, we peel the bark and make very useful and somewhat durable pine bark baskets.
So I'm going to walk you through the process of making a pine bark basket. This tree here is going to get cut down for firewood. We're clearing this area for a food forest, so it's a good opportunity for me to harvest the bark. If you don't have a tree that you're cutting down for firewood or for clearing, it's always a good idea to take branches, like bigger branches from the north side of the tree, because it's getting less sun and it will affect the tree less. So you want to get bark from a tree that's still young and fresh like this. You can see down here, it gets more scaly. That kind of bark won't make a very good basket. It will crack much more easily. So I'm going to take the bark from this section. And so what I'll do is I'll use a knife or a saw, and I'll go around the whole tree, cutting all the way through the outer and inner bark, down to the wood. And I'll do it again on the lower part. And then I'll make a cut that connects the two. And then I can use a sharp stick or my knife if I'm being careful and kind of lift up the bark from the tree. And the bark only easily pops off like this May through like mid-August. Other times of the year the bark is really stuck on there and it won't peel so easily. So you can see I've lifted up the bark, and now I'm just going to take my hands and kind of work my way around. You can see here if I didn't cut all the way down to the wood, it starts sticking. So I want to make sure I recut that, because if I try and just pull through it, it will get caught in the bark and create a tear. And you don't want any tears in your piece, so you can make the biggest basket. And then you have a piece of bark. So there's a couple different styles of pine bark baskets that you can make. There's like this style, a little blicky basket that is essentially bark folded in half and sewn up the sides like that. This style is kind of nice because you can put a little strap on it and put it around your neck and harvest berries with it. But today I'm going to show you how to make a flat-bottomed basket like this. So I'm going to make a pretty small basket today. If you had a bigger piece of bark, you can make a bigger one. But once you have your bark, you're going to use scissors or a knife to cut the size that you want. And then you're going to kind of determine the depth of the edges by folding it over and making creases. So I want my edges to be about 2 inches tall, so I'm folding 2 inches on this side, making a little crease, 2 inches on this side, making a little crease, and then I'm going to the ends, doing the same thing. So the bottom of my basket is going to be about this size here. Now we're going to fold the edges of the basket. And what we use to kind of hold them in place are clothespins that we use from the pine branches. And so you can see here that they're just, you know, a 5-inch piece of the branch. They're split all the way up, and they always have a big knot right here of branches in a circle that prevents it from splitting more. And sometimes we put like a little stick in there to open it up more, but I'm going to use these to hold the basket while I'm folding it. So the first fold you make is on the end. You're going to fold it over where you crease it, about 2 inches or however deep you want your basket to be. And you're going to fold your corners in like that, lift it up, and pin it. And you can use wooden clothespins also, but if you want to try making your own, these are kind of fun. Then you're going to do that to the other side, like a little triangle, fold it and pin it. If you left this to dry how it is, if it's in this shape, you could use rocks or something to, like, if your basket's kind of flopping over, you can kind of support them. But mine's holding its shape really well. So if I left this to dry, it would dry solid, like these ones. And then you could take the clothespins off and just have a basket like that. But if you wanted to put a rim on them, I'll show you 2 different rim styles that you could do. These ones I've lashed with roots, so you can see they're lashed roots, but I have today a nettle cord that I made out of nettle fibers, but you could just use whatever you have in your house. So one way of making the rim is just one singular sapling, tied in a circle and lashed at the 2 ends. There's also this other style that it's woven around itself. There's no lashing that I've done on this basket too. You could also make that. So if you feel extra creative, you could do something like this. And if you just want a singular one, you can just lash them together and make the circle the same diameter as the size of your basket, and maybe a little bit bigger so it can sit on the outside. So I've made a knot at one end, a pretty big one, and I put it through the hole. And I'm just using a pokey stick that I carved to poke the holes through the basket, but you could use an awl if you wanted to. So I'm just poking the holes through, and then I have my rim, and I'm going to start doing whip stitch. So I'm just going up and around. So I'm going out the side and in from the inside, and out the side and in from the inside, the whole way around the basket. So I'm making my way around the basket. You can see I'm going round and round the rim, and then you have your own pine bark basket. So I hope you enjoyed your own journey of connecting to the pine tree. And if you want to learn more about what Colby and I do at Way of the Earth School, you can check out our website at wayoftheearth.com. Thank you.